And we continue at 106 in the afternoon. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show. Broadcasting live from the Morongo Casino Resort and Spa Living Room Studios. Mr. Randy Wang's at the sports desk in Culver City.
John, it's going to make you feel nostalgic, but Barbara Ferrer, for the first time in over 3 months, had a press conference.
We've not yet triggered our early alert measure of medium or high concern, reflecting similar trends that we're seeing in the other COVID data points we just talked about. Next slide. But these higher rates of transmission.
Oh, boy.
She has to test positive, too. That was a sniff and a cough.
Next slide.
With the next slide in between.
Maybe that's why she was wearing that big old mask.
Reflecting similar trends that we're seeing in the other COVID data points we just talked about. Next slide. But these higher rates of transmission.
I'm telling you, she's going to want to bring the mask mandates back.
How can she politically do that here, though?
I don't think she can, but I certainly think she's going to be kicking tires on it.
Yeah.
Let me put it that way. By the way, I don't mean to throw my shoulder out, patting myself on the back. But before I left for vacation, Randy, do you remember the prediction that I made?
What was that?
We had a smash and grab robbery in Glendale. We had one in the San Fernando Valley. We had a third one in East L.A. And I said the next one is going to be in the South Bay. Do you remember that?
I do.
And where did the next one end up?
The South Bay.
That's right. Now, you don't exactly have to be Tyler Henry to predict that. You just have to be aware of who the DA is. Because any mall, any store in Los Angeles County is right now in jeopardy of being robbed. Because the crooks and the criminals know they can pretty much do whatever they want. With the 1-2 punch of George Gascon and Prop 47, they're bulletproof, both literally and figuratively. And until we change both of those two things, that's just the way it's going to be. Joining us right now is a man who is running to replace one of those two bad things that is plaguing California right now. He is a prosecutor and the vice president of the L.A. Association of Deputy District Attorneys and a candidate for Los Angeles County District Attorney, Eric Siddall. Eric, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate being back.
You know, Eric, we just talked about a story about another smash and grab. This time it was in El Monte at a jewelry store. And the family that owns a jewelry store, it's small business owners, they were sprayed with bear spray as the man took a hammer to the glass cases and was trying to steal the diamonds. They fought back and fortunately were able to chase this man from the store who claimed to have a gun. The woman gave an interview with the news and said that she doesn't understand why this happens to taxpayers. All they're trying to do is make an honest buck, and the crooks are so emboldened they can show up to their shop and feel that they can just take whatever they want and no one's going to stop them. I feel, politically speaking, that if George Gascon is going to be tossed out of the office of district attorney, it's going to start. The wave is going to start in those independent municipalities in Los Angeles County. It's going to start in places like El Monte. It's going to start in Laverne, San Dimas, Claremont, Whittier, those areas, and then it's going to reach the rest of the county. Your thoughts?
Well, I think actually the entire county is getting sick and tired of these smash and grabs, and they're sick and tired of having a prosecutor who is not holding criminals accountable. I think that's really I'm talking to people in Santa Monica who voted for George Gascon, and they're tired of it. So I think this is actually pretty universal. When people see, innocent people being victimized, when they know that stores are being, mom and pop stores are being attacked, when Nordstrom's is being ransacked, I think people see it, they're getting sick of it, and they know what the cause is. Here's the ugly truth. Right now we have, our partners in law enforcement, the police, they go in and they make the arrest, right? They hold these people accountable. The problem is when the case gets to the district attorney's office, they are not being held accountable. And if they do get held accountable, they're given probation. They're released almost immediately. We have 13,000 unfiled cases in the DA's office right now. So criminals know that they have an ally in the DA's office, and that's why they're so brazen about these attacks. And that's why one of the principal reasons why we need to get rid of George Gascon is because we need someone who's going to start holding people accountable for their actions.
We have a lot of politicians in Los Angeles and statewide who are trying to jump on this bandwagon of we're looking out for crime victims, we're looking out for small business owners, we want to put a stop to the smash and grabs, we want to put a stop to the organized crime rings that are behind so many of these crimes. Yet they stop short of saying Gascon needs to go, and so does Prop 47. First on my list is L.A. Mayor Karen Bass. She seems to understand that Gascon is a problem. She doesn't invite him to her press conferences where she invites literally everyone else, even tangentially related to law enforcement, and not him. And she recognizes that the laws are stacked against us, particularly Prop 47. But she won't say that 47 needs to be repealed, and she won't say that George Gascon should lose re-election. Why is it, do you think, we have so many politicians who seem to understand what the problem is, but stop just short of wanting to do anything to fix it?
Well, I think it's extremely telling that she did not bring him to that press conference, as you mentioned. You know, a lot of these smash and grabs. You know, the reality is that Prop 47 is not the issue. These smash and grabs around are occurring in Los Angeles County. And why are they occurring in Los Angeles County? Because criminals know that they have a DA who will not hold them accountable. They also know that if they get caught, they're going to be released immediately. And even if they are put in custody, they're going to be given probation so that they are released immediately and continue to commit these exact same crimes. So, you know, we can talk about crime trends around the state. Smash and grab seems to be something that started in San Francisco when George Gascon was the DA there, and he imported into Los Angeles when he became the district attorney of Los Angeles. This is not happening in other places. It's happening in L.A. because they know that they have someone who's an ally for them in the DA's office, and that's why we need to change this. And, you know, frankly, I could care less where the political support comes from. If Karen Bass wants to fight crime, if Gavin Newsom wants to fight crime, let them come in. This should not be a partisan issue. We need to get a district attorney in that office who actually knows the job, who knows how to prosecute crime, who is a reliable partner with law enforcement, and that is not George Gascon. That is why I'm running, because I believe I have all of those qualities. I've been a prosecutor that's handled some of the most violent crime in this city, ranging from gang conspiracy murders to cop murders. I know the job. I know our partners. I know my line prosecutors. I know how to get them on board, and I know how to get this job done that he has failed so miserably to do.
What do you make of the public safety unions in this race? Because public safety unions are very active when it comes to contracts. They're very good at getting more money. They're very good at getting better benefits. They're very good at getting better pensions. But when it comes to issues like public safety, that's put on the back burner compared to the meat and potatoes of a public union, which is to make sure that their employees get the deal that they want. However, when there is a crisis like the crisis going on right now in Los Angeles County, this impacts public safety across the board. I know usually the LA Police Protective League, let's say, doesn't really have a dog in the fight because the district attorney of Los Angeles County doesn't sit across the negotiating table from them when they do their contract. But their membership can't do their jobs as long as George Gascon is there. with all the fires that are being started at the homeless encampments that we can't do anything about. If there's no public safety, that ruins the life of the firefighters for the county and the city and the independent municipalities. I wouldn't want to be a prison guard right now anywhere in the state of California, given the circumstances, what we now have. It seems like public safety unions should be able to come together on this pressing crisis, and I do believe it is a crisis, to get behind the effort and to finance the effort to dump this man from office. Do you think that's going to happen?
I do, and I know that our public safety. Look, I'm a union guy myself. Our public safety unions, including my union, has fought very hard to keep public safety in the forefront. I mean, we work in Sacramento. We've worked with the Board of Supervisors. We've worked on campaigns to get people who are pro-public safety elected to office. So I understand the primary purpose of a public employee union is to make sure that benefits are secured and things like that. But public safety unions have actually led the fight on this issue and have contributed millions and millions of dollars on behalf of the people of the state of California to make sure that public safety is in the forefront.
Well, you look at the mayor's race, and LAPPL, they certainly got involved heavily financially there. But you look at the effort to recall George Gascon, and many of these unions really didn't open up their pocketbooks. There's a difference between supporting it and having your membership behind the effort and really getting involved financially to make it happen. In the effort to recall George Gascon from office, both of those efforts were unsuccessful. And I think that if they had more money, they had more resources, maybe we'd be sitting in a different place right now.
Well, if I remember correctly, the public safety unions did actually contribute to the second recall effort. And frankly, I don't know if that second recall effort is dead at this point. There's right now there's active litigation on that issue. We'll see what happens. But there seems to be some issues that the recall committee does have with the registrar's office that are being litigated right now. But public safety unions did actually help on the recall of George Gascon. I don't think he defeated those recall efforts. I think it's extremely difficult to get a recall on the ballot in a place the size of Los Angeles. But that story is not over yet. It's still being written. So let's see what the courts do in terms of the recall of George Gascon.
I haven't seen any public polling in terms of George Gascon's popularity in Los Angeles County. But I know that in Orange County, when Todd Spitzer was up, he ran against George Gascon and the clone that the Soros people funded against Todd Spitzer. And that was supposed to be a tough race. He won in a blowout. Where do you think Gascon is right now?
Well, I mean, one of the polls I saw is that he's at about 20%. So he is the most unpopular politician in Los Angeles County by far. Even when Eric Garcetti was the mayor of Los Angeles, I think he had higher favorability ratings than George Gascon. This is look. Voters know what's happening. They can see it very clearly. What's going on. All you have to do is go onto social media, watch the evening news, or walk down the street, and you see complete chaos in our county. So I think voters know that George Gascon has been a detriment to public safety. That he has not done anything. That he has, in fact, if anything, he has simply just released people without any plan whatsoever to make Los Angeles safer.
Last question before you go. As a union guy, you know that he has targeted your members. He's punished them for politically disagreeing with him. He's punished them if they act in ways that they've acted their entire careers as public servants, but goes against his specific radical ideology. He's moved them from one office to another. He has demoted them from prosecuting very serious crimes to prosecuting very low-level crimes. Those are things you're not supposed to do to your political enemies in that office for people who have civil service protection. That being said, because this is a presidential year and because Jerry Brown signed legislation that moves the California primary from June to March, if George Gascon is sitting at 20%, there's a chance, given the fact that there are any number of credible candidates in this race, that Gascon does not make it to the November ballot. In which case, he is going to be a very disgruntled employee, and he's going to have 3/4 of a year to impose whatever damage he wants to impose on the people of Los Angeles County with all of the maliciousness that he's displayed so far. How much does it worry you that he could theoretically have 3/4 of a year never having to face the voters of Los Angeles County again with those levers of power?
I think what makes me fear even more is the idea of him having 4 more years of power, because at the rate that what he is doing to the district attorney's office is nothing short of vandalism. He is destroying the very institution that keeps us safe in Los Angeles. So, there are a lot of people that are being retaliated against, and he has done that in a vicious, illegal manner. And in fact, a jury agrees with me because a jury awarded one of our DAs $1.5 million in damages. But what really terrifies me is the idea of 4 more years of George Gascon, because I'll tell you one thing. When I was applying to be a DA, we had 1,000 applicants for 80 positions. Right now, we have 80 open positions, and we got about 36 applicants. No one wants to work for this office, and the office is getting downgraded. The institution itself is being ransacked, and we need someone in there who's going to restore the institution of the district attorney's office. And let me tell you, it's going to be a Herculean effort to restore the DA's office to what it used to be, because of the tremendous damage that he has done to the morale of the office, to the structure of the office, and to the personnel of the office.
Eric Siddall, candidate for district attorney in Los Angeles County. You can find him online at eric4da.com and follow him on Twitter at Eric Siddall. Eric, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
If you want to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the email bag.
That's right. We got an email from Elias at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And he says, do any of you have COVID? What's with all the coughing?
Okay, I'm pretty sure I don't have COVID, although I have been traveling. I feel perfectly fine. However, I'm on this blood pressure medication that for whatever reason makes me cough. I don't know why. Maybe it has nothing to do with the cough. Maybe it just happened around the same time that I started taking the medication that I developed whooping cough or something along those lines. I don't know. But I can tell you, when I was coughing on the plane yesterday, everyone was staring daggers through me. But I really do feel perfectly fine. I do not feel sick at all. But I am coughing. I guess that means I'm not going to be on The View either.
Yeah.
Randy, if people want to listen to the podcast version of this show, that's easy to do.
That's right. Go to KABC.com, click on podcasts, go to the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can search for The John Phillips Show on YouTube. Everyone knows how to do that. You can subscribe to the playlist. It is so easy to do. Everyone can do it. Everyone can figure this out. Even Barbara Ferrer. You know how to download the podcast, right?
I have no idea.
Okay, she has no idea, but you can do it. I swear. It's real easy.
And Randy, you and I are going on the road next week.
That's right. Friday, September 15th, a week from Friday, Johnny and I are going to be broadcasting live at the Gelson's Food Market and Wine Bar at the Century City Gelson's inside the Westfield Century City Shopping Center. How exciting is this? We're going to be doing the show live from noon to 3. Have some lunch with us, maybe do a little wine tasting. They pour some fantastic California Reds. You're going to have a great time. We're going to have a great time. We'll be there for 3 hours, noon to 3, at Gelson's in Century City at the Wine Bar, Friday, September 15th. So come out, say hi, snap a picture, grab some lunch. It's going to be a great afternoon.
Now, I'm assuming they're going to introduce us to the resident sommelier, but I wonder if they're going to introduce us to one of the cashiers as well.
Well, I'll tell you this. I went to Gelson's this morning, and they have no cashiers that are dummy.
If the cashier is dummy.
Well, we're receiving crossed wires when it comes to COVID-19. The fake doctor believes you should still be wearing a mask and celebrating holidays outdoors. And the superintendent of LAUSD says, COVID schmovid, send your sick kid to school. We don't care. We want to get that money.
This is what the superintendent of LAUSD said the morning school returned at LAUSD August 14th, 2 weeks ago.
So for parents, if your child simply has, a mild cold, some sniffles, does not have fever, is not vomiting, please send them to school.
Okay, let's examine that for a second. I understand. I would go to school when I would have the sniffles all the time. Kids get sniffles. It's a petri dish in those schools. However, I've also contracted COVID twice. On neither occasion did I have a fever. On neither occasion was I vomiting. The symptoms that I experienced with COVID-19 were very similar to the symptoms that I've experienced when I've gotten the flu in the past or I've gotten the common cold in the past. The main difference was it lasted a long time, and the first time around, I lost my sense of taste and smell. Second time around, I maintained that throughout. So, if he wants you to send your kid to school with all of the symptoms of COVID-19, then guess what? He's made the determination that it's time to move on, that there's no need to test unless you're very ill. The fake doctor, however, is one who is not going to give COVID-19 up anytime soon.
Yeah.
And that's why she was asked, even by reporters at the LA Times, not Ron Lynn, Howard Bloom, the education reporter, how come you're saying the sick kids should stay home, and then if they do come back, wear a mask for 2 weeks? And Carvalho says, come one, come all. And here was that exchange.
The final question from Howard is,
Guess who's reading the questions?
That sounds like Ron Lynn.
No. Ron Lynn doesn't show up at these things in person. In fact,
is that Brett?
That's Brett.
He, him, his.
The final question from Howard is, Dr. Ferrer said sick children should stay home from school. To what extent, if any, is her advice somewhat different than what LAUSD is saying to families, which is, in essence, that children with mild symptoms of illness should go to school?
I don't think we're really differing.
Oh, really?
Wait, you're 180 degrees different. You're saying don't send them to school if they have those symptoms, and he's saying don't give a damn, put them on the bus.
And Babs has a tell. She starts giggling when she's not being truthful.
I don't think we're really differing.
That's a weird laugh. Isolate that laugh for a second, because that sounds a little bit like a mixture between the Biden laugh and the Pelosi laugh.
Okay, so here's Ferrer. Oh, boy. Let me just save that because I'm sure it's going to get used. I really thought we'd be done with the Ferrer drops in September of 2023, but here I am adding a new one to the book, Ferrer laugh. And you want to compare that, this laugh, to Grampy Joe and Nancy Pelosi. I'd say it's about 60-40.
Yeah, she's a mixture of the two.
See if we can get past 3 seconds in this.
I don't think we're really differing. I think we're both saying the same thing.
You're literally not.
No, you're saying the exact opposite thing. And you could laugh all you want. You're saying the opposite thing.
If you're sick, you should stay home.
Now, by the way, that is her messing with her mask. That was not her breaking wind.
She can't stop touching her face.
Well, she's not a medical professional. She doesn't understand how germs work.
If you're sick.
It does sound like something else. I did not mess with this.
Was Eric Swalwell at this press conference?
I think we're both saying the same thing. If you're sick, you should stay home. If you're a child or you're an adult and you're sick.
Was Ferrer on that Delta flight?
I think that was a different kind of illness.
You should be staying home. If you have respiratory symptoms in particular, please stay home, get tested.
That is the opposite of what Alberto Carvalho is saying.
See, this is what they do. They just lie to your face. Saying something different? No, we're saying the exact same thing. This is what she did, by the way. This is what she did when the advice that she gave was different from the state. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
The state said we could be open. She said, no, we had to be closed. The state said we didn't have to wear the mask. She said we did have to wear the mask. And whenever she'd get confronted on it, she'd say, no, we're saying the same thing.
Make sure that you're not inadvertently spreading COVID-19. I want to note we're moving into the respiratory illness season. We'll have RSV, we'll have flu. It's super important that children who are not feeling well, who are having an active cough along with not feeling well, get tested and remain home away from others so that they don't spread.
What did the superintendent say again?
So for parents, if your child simply has, a mild cold, some sniffles, does not have fever, is not vomiting, please send them to school.
Having government officials like these two on the same page is what makes our little town work. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Well, John writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. It's great to point out the inconsistencies between the LAUSD superintendent and the fake doctor. What a bunch of liars. You guys are so good, I sometimes have to take a day off from listening to avoid major depression.
Or he's going to have a cough on my blood pressure medication, too. All right, I need to complain about something for a second. I've noticed a lot of people seem to be upset with former President Donald Trump because he's raising money from small donors to pay for his legal defense. And people say, he's a billionaire. Why isn't he footing the bill for his legal defense? And that's an interesting argument, and it's a valid one. Let me lay something else on you for a second, Randy. Guess who is now all over the news media asking for donations for the people of Maui?
Who's that?
Oprah Winfrey and The Rock. I'm looking right now at a picture of Oprah Winfrey's Maui estate, which I believe is in Wailea, which is the toniest part of the entire island.
I think she also owns a big chunk of Hana.
She owns that too? God, that Harpo Productions really worked out for her, didn't it?
There's an active effort to make sure none of these mega celebrities try to buy up all that land in Lahaina.
Well, of course, that's what they're going to do. That's exactly what's going to happen. I read somewhere on the internet that she already owns 1,000 acres of sacred land over there.
She also makes enough to own 1,000 acres.
Well, and then you got that Larry Ellison that owns the entire island of Lanai. So now what? They want small dollar donors to pitch in to help rebuild the island. So then everything can be fixed up so they can buy it all? That's what it seems like to me that they're doing.
The Oprah I used to know didn't just take, she also gave. So how about you put everyone in a raffle that gives $5 to Maui to stay at your Montecito house for a week?
You get fresh water, and you get fresh water, and you get fresh water. How about taking some of those hundreds of millions of dollars that you have there, Oprah, and getting involved in Hawaiian government so that they have someone in charge of the water who will release it when there's a fire? Don't you think that would be a good use of money? I'll tell you, the more I read about this fire in Maui, the more this is a complete failure of government. And I know we had this conversation before, Now, anytime something goes haywire, instead of saying, ooh, we screwed up here, someone made a mistake. I guess our policies failed. No, what they do is they now blame everything on global warming. Why was there a fire in Maui that destroyed so much? Well, of course, it's global warming. The planet is heating up. Well, how about the guy in charge of the water that didn't release any of it? Stop going down rabbit holes. That had nothing to do with the fire working its way around the island. Why are you trying to make a connection between the man in charge of the water who didn't release any of it and the fire spreading like literal wildfire? It had nothing to do with that. We pissed Mother Nature off. And that's what happened.
In fact, we have sound from Mother Nature.
And I want you to be all the way pissed off.
Well, I'll tell you, if she's Mother Nature, I wouldn't want to be Puxatawny Phil. Because you will lose every time. You know, Randy, I think this vacation that I just took marks a first in our relationship as hosts together.
And then what's that?
This is the first time I've gone on vacation and the world hasn't gone completely to hell while I've been gone.
Usually, when you take a week off, there is nonstop, massive, earth-shattering breaking news, or there's nonstop, earth-shattering radio gossip, and there was none of that last week.
How did that happen?
Hey, sometimes you get lucky.
And sometimes I bring the drama with me. Remember when I went to New Zealand and that volcano erupted?
Well, as far as we saw last week, Austria did not implode. There was nothing wrong with Croatia. Even Germany was fine.
Everything just worked out. The strudel was great. I don't know. Did any of the Von Trapps die?
I think Germany was fine.
Okay.
The only thing that was really earth-shattering in our circle is that the legend himself, Jimmy Buffett, passed away Friday night.
That's true. But that was after the show on Friday.
That's true. That was after we did a whole big, long Jimmy Buffett Friday, and we found out that they opened a new Margaritaville hotel in San Diego on Friday.
Now that's timing. All right, we've got one more hour coming up on the John Phillips Show right here on Talk Radio 790 KABC.
Yeah. Yeah.